It's Wednesday at 6 p.m., and you know what that means. It's time for ELN Radio. Here are the top stories we're following today.
Earlier this afternoon, 49 people were killed in Laos in a plane crash. According to the vice president of the airline, Lao Airlines, the plane was preparing to land when the pilots lost control. He also said that gusts from the recent Typhoon Nari, caused the plane to crash on a neighboring island.
For the first time in its history, Bosnia-Herzegovina has qualified for the FIFA World Cup. Last night, they beat Lithuania 1-0, ensuring that they will play next year in Brazil. Bosnia-Herzegovina played its first match as an independent country in 1995 after Yugoslavia was broken up.
An employee of the Los Angeles airport was arrested today after being accused of planting 2 bottles of dry ice in the airport, where they later exploded. According to Los Angeles police, DeCarlo Bennett is a baggage handler at the airport who, quote, thought it was funny. The bottles of dry ice exploded on Sunday and Monday, and though they didn't hurt anyone, did cause the airport to close temporarily. It's Wednesday at 6 o'clock. That means it is time for ELN Radio on 89.3 WSOE. I'm Corey Shegda.
And I'm John Bowden. Here's what's coming up today on the show.
A national figure is influencing North Carolina politics. Find out who later in the show.
And parking on campus just got a little harder. We've got updates on what's happening outside Moseley.
All that and more coming up on ELN Radio.
Welcome to this week's ELN Radio. Over the past 2 weeks, Elon Local News has brought you coverage of the ongoing government shutdown and the quickly approaching debt ceiling.
The deadline is less than 6 hours away, and Congress and the White House are taking action, but that might not solve the problem.
Senate Republicans announced at noon today that they had reached a deal with the majority Senate Democrats. The plan would end the government shutdown by funding it until next January and raise the debt ceiling until February. House Republicans haven't announced if they will allow the Senate deal to come to a vote, but Senator Ted Cruz, who led the Tea Party push to tie Obamacare to the shutdown and the debt ceiling increase, said today that he will not attempt to block the vote. A spokesman for House Majority Leader John Boehner told reporters earlier today that the Speaker doesn't know whether the majority Republican House will be able to pass the bill. The deal would stop the U.S. from defaulting on its debts for the first time in history, but that isn't the only problem. The threat now comes from the credit rating agency Fitch, which threatened to downgrade the U.S.'s credit rating from a AAA to a AA+. That means the U.S. would face higher interest when it borrows its money, which would increase the national debt. Fitch says that what it calls political brinkmanship over the debt ceiling would be the cause for a lowered rating. If the debt ceiling deadline isn't met, or if the credit rating is lowered, the stock market could take a huge hit, which could also hurt the recovering U.S. economy.
And Washington's problems aren't just on Capitol Hill. Hundreds of veterans and protesters stormed the World War II Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. on Sunday. The Million Vet March was joined by members of the group Ride for the Constitution and clashed with riot police at the barricades in front of the memorial. Protesters shoved police officers and moved barricades as they stormed the memorial and carried the barricades all the way to the White House. They were joined by several top conservative leaders, including Senators Mike Lee and Ted Cruz, and former Governor Sarah Palin. If the Senate deal passes tonight, the memorial will be open tomorrow.
Coming up next on ELN Radio, the shutdown isn't the only thing affecting Washington. It's causing problems in North Carolina, too. We'll tell you how coming up.
Welcome back to ELN Radio on 89.3 WSOE. With an update on the world of North Carolina politics, here's our Joe Bruno.
In a move that shocked many closely following the Republican Senate primary, Kentucky Senator Rand Paul endorsed a fellow physician, Greg Brannon, in the NC Senate race. Brannon is an OBGYN from Cary and is facing NC Speaker of the House Tom Tillis in the primary to unseat Senator Kay Hagan. Senator Hagan is bringing in the cash. Hagan raised $1.8 million in the third fundraising quarter, and that gives her $5.4 million in cash for her 2014 re-election bid. And finally, Governor McCrory had a pretty routine day. He began by celebrating Wake Tech Community College's 50th anniversary and then attended a workshop development conference in Greensboro. That's your NC Politics Update. I'm Joe Bruno, Elon Local News.
And North Carolina isn't only facing political issues. The continued shutdown has caused more problems in the state. Our Elizabeth Kantlehner is here in the studio with more. Elizabeth?
Corey, the latest program being affected by the shutdown is the North Carolina Work First program. Formerly known as welfare, Work First provides short-term training like job training and childcare to help parents become employed. Julie Henry, the spokesperson for the Department of Health and Human Services, confirmed to Elon Local News that no new applications will be processed as long as the government is shut down, and that anyone currently enrolled in the program will not receive their welfare checks in November. Workforce is part of the federally funded temporary aid to needy families. It was created in 1995 after Congress passed welfare reform. North Carolina is currently the only state closing its state program, and there are around 21,000 Carolina residents currently part of Work First. The federally funded temporary aid to needy families is still being funded, and Henry says that the state is still encouraging people to apply for those federal benefits. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Elizabeth. But as more programs are being affected, the North Carolina government is working to make sure the basic needs of North Carolinians are met. Earlier this week, Governor Pat McCrory released $750,000 from state funds to 7 regional food banks, including the Second Harvest Food Bank of Northwest North Carolina, which serves agencies in Alamance County. The North Carolina Department of Justice also released $2 million. It will be distributed through the Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina, which is located in Raleigh.
And if you're looking for a place to eat in Burlington, starting soon you will have one less option. The restaurant B. Christopher's in Burlington will move to Greensboro before January. Chris Russell, the owner of B. Christopher's, also owned the now-closed Town Table and Tap House. B. Christopher's has been open in Burlington since 1999.
And as one restaurant closes, another opens. The controversial fast food restaurant Chick-fil-A will open its doors in McEwen Dining Hall tomorrow. Chick-fil-A moved to McEwen Dining Hall after the Octagon Cafe was closed to make room for the new student lounge in Moseley. Chick-fil-A's stance on gay rights came under fire last spring, and Spectrum sponsored a bill in SGA that would have forced the chain off campus.
And the new student lounge isn't the only change in Moseley. The parking lot just got cut in half. Part of the Moseley parking lot has been moved off to make room for the groundbreaking of the new admissions building, which will open fall 2013.
After the break, we'll tell you about a town where you can find your own piece of history. ELN Radio returns in just a minute.
Welcome back to ELN Radio on 89.3 WSOE. I have a quick correction. The new groundbreaking admissions building will be open in fall 2015, not fall 2013. But fall is back in the air at Elon. If you're a fan of pumpkin, listen up. Our Nick Makansi has more.
It's that time of year again. Leaves are changing colors and Halloween decorations are going up. Pumpkins are a staple of the season. Here are a few food and drink options that include the popular gourd. Pumpkin seeds, a favorite in my family. They're easy to make and tasty to eat. While you're cutting open your pumpkin to make your spooky jack-o'-lantern, don't throw out the guts inside. Instead, clean them off. Shake some salt on them, stick them on a cookie sheet, and throw them into an oven for about 10 minutes at 350 degrees. Good and good for you, unless you believe you are what you eat. Pumpkin bread and pie are fall classics, and the ingredients are cheap and the recipes are easy for the college student to make. Ever consider drinking a pumpkin? As long as you're of age, the popular beer company Shock Top has come out with a seasonal pumpkin wheat flavor. This ale actually brewed with ripe pumpkins and spices including nutmeg, cinnamon, and cloves. And for the under 21 crowd, Starbucks has the answer to your pumpkin craving. Pumpkin spice lattes are now available at Starbucks everywhere. But as fall turns into winter, these flavors will soon go back into storage for another year. Nick Makansi, Elon Local News.
If you're interested in exploring North Carolina history over this month, there's a piece right down the road. Our Katie Maraghy traveled back in time to find out what it was like to live in our state more than 300 years ago.
We consider ourselves the Monticello of Winston-Salem.
Drive 40 minutes on I-40 to downtown Winston-Salem, and you'll find a little piece of North Carolina history.
The trades were very important. It was a commercial center, a strong commercial center in this area of North Carolina.
Old Salem is a living history museum in the center of Winston-Salem. The museum offers tours, interpreters, and demonstrations of what life was like in 18th century Salem.
Take what is commonly called a town visit. We have various museum buildings that are open for touring.
Originally founded in 1766 by the Moravians, a Protestant group, Old Salem was a craftsman town. The museum was restored in the 50s for guests, and today people come from all over the world to see this little piece of history.
Upwards of 300,000 visitors a year. Lots and lots of fourth graders come, school children.
And the interpreters learn a little something too.
It's surprising that you meet so many people from different nationalities and places I've never been in my life, probably never get to travel, but my picture has traveled many places.
And the story changes with each visitor that comes through. Katie Maraghy, Elon Local News.
There's still plenty of time to head to Old Salem this semester, and tickets are free for college students in the Triad.
After the break, we'll tell you about one Elon student who's making music, but not on a traditional instrument. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to ELN Radio. While at Elon, some students are involved with Greek life, student media, or language organizations, but our Jason Puckett spoke to one student who spends his time making plays come to life.
It's an unusual workspace.
Everything that's on the wall has a story. Everything that's on the desk has a story.
Books, movies, and Christmas lights set the tone.
I couldn't do any of this anyplace else.
But when Herbie Luttvack sits in this computer chair, his room becomes a studio, and his keyboard becomes an orchestra.
It's my happy place. Like, nothing can bother me, nothing is worrying me, and when I'm done doing that, hopefully I have something that sounds really good that I worked hard on. I like the bass part is really jumpy and fun, except here.
His musical work has been featured in a PBS documentary that was nominated for a regional Emmy Award. He also put together all the sound for Elon's fall play, The Children's Hour.
It was a little bit crazy because this was the first time I had done pretty much anything like this before. I just essentially walked up to a professor last year and was like, hey, I want to do this. Can I do this? And he said, yeah, you can do this. And I was like, great, so I'm doing it.
But Luttvack hasn't always been a composer. He dabbled a bit in high school, but never wrote scores. That all happened this past year, right after he got permission from the dean to switch majors.
I told her that if you say no to me, I'll just be back here tomorrow. But if you say yes, you'll never hear from me again. And I don't think she's heard from me again.
For him, the most rewarding thing is seeing his vision played out.
It was really cool to see the audience react exactly how I wanted them to like one little thing.
Like this noise.
There's that sound in there, and I just wanted the audience to feel really awkward. And there were people looking around and doing this with their ears and covering their ears and going like, oh, making faces. It was awesome. I felt really good about that.
Jason Puckett, Elon Local News.
While Luttvack was composing music this fall break, other students were performing a different service for the community.
For students who didn't go home during fall break, there was another option offered through the Kantlehner Center. Students have opportunity to participate in alternative breaks to do service in various locations throughout North Carolina. Service opportunities include environmental issues, community development, and education disparities. We have trip leader Matthew Crehan in the studio to talk about his trip and what led him to become involved. Thanks for joining us, Matt.
Thanks for having me.
How did you become involved with Elon Alternative Breaks?
Actually, my freshman year, I was at the org fair, and after walking around and looking at all the different organizations, I stopped at the Alternative Breaks table and started talking to them and was really interested in it because I'm from New Jersey, so instead of going home for the 5-day break, I got really interested in participating last year, and then this year I decided I wanted to lead it.
All right, so can you tell us what you actually did this past weekend?
Yeah, we actually, my trip went out to the Asheville area in western North Carolina, and we did a bunch of different service places including western North Carolina's largest corn maze, and we actually volunteered there, and all the proceeds go to a local orphanage. And we also volunteered at a local charter school as well. Its focus is incorporating the arts into its education, and we actually did some yard work outside to clean up the area where they're going to be putting an outside classroom. And another place we went to was called Manna Food Bank, and we actually made Manna Packs, which are for younger children who get free or reduced lunches, and they get them Friday afternoon, so they have enough food for the weekend.
Wow, that sounds awesome. So how can students get interested? How can other students get more information about future trips?
Definitely head up to the Kantlehner Center and try to ask any of the people working there. They would be more than happy to help out. Or you can just check out the Elon Volunteers page on Elon's website. And if you have any other information, you can always send an email to Evan Small.
Okay, and so what would you say your favorite part about the whole trip was?
Definitely getting to know the new participants. This would have been my third trip. I went on the Western North Carolina trip last fall break, and I went on the Atlanta trip. last spring break, and getting to know the new participants was definitely great, and kind of getting closer with them and seeing the different service locations at Western North Carolina.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Matt.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Students also have the opportunity to go on one of these trips during fake break, spring break, and even summer break. During fake break, students can travel to New York and assist in disaster relief from Superstorm Sandy. Both domestic and international trips are offered during spring break with a variety of service opportunities. Their international trips include Jamaica, the Dominican Republic, Honduras, and Nicaragua. For summer 2014 trip, a trip to Mali, Africa is being offered, focusing on rural education and youth development. The Canodal Center tries to keep trips at a low cost for students, between $500 and $1,500. For more information on alternative breaks, check out the Elon Volunteers page on Elon website.
Coming up after the break, we'll tell you about an Elon student who's pursuing a different path, investing. Stick with us. Welcome back to ELN Radio. We have a quick correction to make. Students looking to do an international service learning trip will actually be going to Malawi and not Mali. Coming to college can be a challenge, but for some students, it's harder than others. Our Jasmine Turner found one student who had to overcome many obstacles to get where he is today.
With its familiar sounds, Elon has become a second home to many, but for some students, the road to college is not always easy. Sophomore Tristan Alexander has spent most of his life overcoming economic challenges.
Technically, I am the first person in my family to go to college.
Alexander is originally from Trinidad and Tobago and moved to Brooklyn, New York. Coming from a single-parent household, he struggled through most of his early years of school, but was determined to get to a 4-year institution. One of his greatest obstacles was being able to afford college, but he received the necessary aid from Elon's Watson and Odyssey scholarship program.
Watson and Odyssey did help me get to Elon. They not only gave me a support system, but they offered me a lot of money to come here, and I had to take out a couple of loans, but without it, coming to Elon wouldn't be possible.
Despite his background, Alexander is working hard to help support himself while still in school.
This year, I took the job as an RA so I can afford to, not ask my mother for money so much because she has other responsibilities to take care of.
His ultimate goal is to graduate from Elon and pay forward the sacrifices made by his mother. Jasmine Turner, Elon Local News.
And while some students are struggling financially, some are able to play with their money. Our Eric Halperin found one Elon student doing just that.
It's an 18th birthday present he has to watch day after day.
He gave me a certain amount of money and said, here, you can invest it and learn to start investing it now. So I've been interested in it over the last couple of years.
While students are scurrying around the School of Business in the morning, Junior Kyle Hoganson is checking on his investments.
I'll check it about when it opens because there's been, for certain stocks and certain markets, there's been trading overnight.
And keeping an eye on those stocks is part of the rest of his day.
It's one of those things where every couple hours I'll be curious to see where the market's at, what the trends are.
He likes to compare the sometimes unpredictable market to football.
It's kind of like a football team like being down 35-0 at half and then all of a sudden winning by like 35 and you're like, what just happened?
But when his projections are correct,
you just feel like some kind of god among men. You're like, I predicted that.
However, when his stocks aren't doing so well,
there's always kind of that panic initially where you're like, oh, that's value I'm losing.
Hoganson says it's those bad times that often make him focus more on what's going on outside Elon. He sees the global issues affecting the economy, making him more of the global citizen Elon is looking to create.
It's a way for me to be a global-minded, even though I might never operate a global reach business.
He hopes this global-mindedness will help him in becoming an entrepreneur. Eric Halperin, Elon Local News.
And from the world of finances to the world of technology, here's our Gary Grumbach with What's a Buzz in the Tech World.
Here's what's going on in the world of technology. Tech giant Google is at it again, this time with a smartwatch. According to Mashable, this watch will be able to tell you about upcoming events, check social media updates, bring you breaking news, and tell you how long it's going to take to get to work. The watch is nearing completion and could be released by Google by the end of the month. There's big news for Twitter fanatics. You can now direct message anyone, whether or not they follow you back. This feature will not only let you message your favorite celebrity, but you can also tell any business or organization with a Twitter account how they're doing. But it's not a DM free-for-all. This option can be turned off in the Settings tab. And Facebook is changing its privacy settings once again. Beginning today, teenagers between the age of 13 and 17 will be able to post publicly and obtain profile followers. Previously, teens on Facebook were only allowed to share content with friends and custom groups. Now, content posted by teens is available to anyone on Facebook, just like users 18 and older. And just like other settings on Facebook, this one can be changed with a click of the button. With all the news from the tech world, I'm Gary Grumbach, Elon Local News.
Last week we told you about a local grocery store with a twist, and now our Brian Mezerski has more on the market that bridges continents.
A live lobster, tilapia fish, live crab, produce section, sugar cane, banana leaves. I don't know, probably cactus. I didn't know people was eating cactus leaves, but they eat those. And a couple other things in the meat department that I don't want to mention. My name is Stephen Kim. I'm owner of a Super G Mart, Super Global Mart, international grocery store. When you look at the like Walmarts or Harris Teeter or Food Lions, they're grocery stores. They're big, but a lot of things they don't have. And people come in here from European country asking for, do you have this sausage from Germany? Caribbean people come, do you have this product? They feel like they're in their country store. I'm a restaurateur. I own a few restaurants in D.C. area. Never had a grocery experience before. First time. Here, I work directly. I work from open to close, so I get to meet a lot of people. Bringing international food, international operation, very tough in a small town like Burlington. It's very slow. A lot of wasting in this business. You have to buy so much, that if you don't sell it by a certain day, you have to throw them away, so that's very hard. Catfish, duck feet, duck head. The products that we have here, you won't believe this. I don't even know what it is and where it's coming from, but it's here. And a lot of people in this neighborhood likes it, so come and try it. That's all I can say. Just try it.
The market is located at 2210 West Webb Avenue in Burlington.
Coming up after the break, we've got everything that's happening at Elon this week, so stick with ELN Radio on WSOE.
Welcome back to ELN Radio on 89.3 WSOE. Our Justin Beagle has ELN Sports look ahead for this week.
Thanks for tuning into this Elon Local News Sports Update. Here are the things to look forward to this weekend, fresh off a fall break. A fairly quiet Friday afternoon on campus as the women's soccer team will travel to Statesboro, Georgia to take on Georgia Southern. The ladies look for their second consecutive win and 9th overall in the season. Meanwhile, the Phoenix volleyball team travels to Birmingham, Alabama to take on SoCon rival Sanford, where the ladies will hope to bounce back after a 3-0 loss to Georgia Southern just last week. Also on Friday, both the men's and women's cross-country teams will be in Boone, North Carolina for the annual Blue Ridge Open as they get set for the SoCon Championships in just a few weeks. Later Friday evening, be sure to catch Jack Eisenberger, Kelsey Harris, and the rest of the Elon men's and women's basketball teams at Late Night with the Phoenix. This event celebrates the beginning of the Elon basketball season and gives fans the opportunity to check out both programs as they prepare for the upcoming season. Admission is free, and the event kicks off at 8 p.m., with doors set to open at 7:45. Both teams will be available to sign autographs following the conclusion of the event. And that all leads up to the big football game on Saturday. The team returns home to Road Stadium after going 0-2 on the road the past 2 weeks. The 2-5 Phoenix will host 4-2 Chat in the Live Pink game. So be sure to show your support for breast cancer awareness and wear your pink to the game. Kickoff is set for 1:30 p.m. For live updates and scores from that game, be sure to follow us on Twitter at ELN Sports and tweet at us using the hashtag ElonVerseChat. Also on Saturday, the women's volleyball team is at Chattanooga at 6 p.m. and men's soccer is on the road at Furman at 7 p.m. The men's soccer team looks to rebound after a heartbreaking loss in overtime at home to Wofford this past week. That's it for sports. I'm Justin Beagle, Elon Local News.
And if sports aren't your thing, there are other events this week on campus. Tomorrow night at 7:30, prominent pianist Ann Shine will be playing at Elon as part of the Adams Foundation piano recital. Shine has played in more than 50 countries around the world and has debuted at Carnegie Hall. The event will be held in Whitley Hall, and admission is free. If you're looking for more information on graduate schools, the Career Center is hosting a graduate and professional school fair next Monday in McKinnon Hall from 2 to 5 p.m. And later in this semester, Elon Local News with the Communications School will be hosting a 125th anniversary show, and you can look for more on that later in the semester. But that's all we have for this week's ELN radio show. So if you don't have to wait until next week to hear all the news from Elon, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and ElonLocalNews.com for news throughout the week.
From all of us at ELN and WSOE, have a great rest of the week, Elon.